So you're thinking about expanding your team into Nigeria? That is a fantastic move. You're looking at one of the most dynamic talent pools in all of Africa, so the opportunity is, well, it's huge. But the local employment landscape, it's got its own set of rules. In this explainer, we're going to break down all the essentials you need to know, from pay and taxes all the way to termination, so you can hire with total confidence. Let's jump in.
Okay, so first things first, let's just set the stage. Why Nigeria? I mean, to really get a handle on the hiring scene, you first have to understand the massive economic powerhouse it's sitting in. This context, it's the foundation for literally everything else we're going to talk about.
It all starts with this one massive number, 206 million. And look, that's not just a population figure. What you're really looking at is a vast, deep, and incredibly diverse pool of talent. It's what makes Nigeria an absolute powerhouse of human capital on the continent.
Now, this is where the economic picture gets really interesting. If you look at the total size of the economy, the overall GDP, Nigeria is #1 in Africa. It's a giant. But because of that huge population we just talked about, when you slice up that economic pie for each person, the GDP per capita, the rank drops all the way down to 17th. This contrast is absolutely crucial because it directly shapes everything: wages, the cost of living, and the entire employment environment you're about to step into.
Okay, so with that economic backdrop in mind, let's get into the nitty-gritty, the practicals. What are the fundamental rules for actually paying your team in Nigeria? Let's break down the basics of pay and payroll.
Two things are key here. First, the national minimum wage is set at 30,000 naira a month. And second, you're legally required to pay your employees at least once every month. Now, you can pay more often if you want, but monthly is the standard, and more importantly, the legal minimum.
It's also worth pointing out that while things like a 13th month salary aren't legally required, performance bonuses are a super common part of the compensation culture. It's a key incentive that a lot of employers use at their own discretion.
All right, next up is a topic that can definitely trip up some international employers: income tax. Getting a handle on Nigeria's tax system right from the start is absolutely essential.
So before we even look at the numbers, you've got to understand the core concept here, which is progressive taxation. Put simply, all it means is this: as a person's income goes up, the rate of tax they pay on their additional earnings also goes up. Higher income brackets get taxed at higher percentages.
And here's how that progressive system plays out in practice. The first 300,000 naira of taxable income, that's taxed at just 7%. But as the income grows, each new chunk is taxed at a higher rate, climbing all the way up to 24% for any earnings over 3.2 million naira. See how it steps up?
Now for another critical area: mandatory time off. Nigerian labor law has several key leave entitlements baked right in. We're going to cover the big ones in a quick rundown, so keep these numbers handy.
First up, for maternity leave, employees get a full 12 weeks. Paternity leave, which is a more recent addition from 2021, is set at 14 days.
For sick leave, as long as it's certified by a doctor, an employee can take up to 12 paid days per year.
And for annual vacation, the legal minimum for any worker is 6 paid days of leave.
Let's dive just a little deeper on that maternity leave, because the details really matter. The 12-week leave is paid at 50% of an employee's salary. To be eligible, they need to have been with the company for at least 6 months straight. And the law also requires employers to give new mothers 2 30-minute nursing breaks each day.
Okay, this next section, this is one of the most unique parts of Nigerian labor law, and it often surprises employers who are new to the country. Let's talk about how employment contracts are terminated. This is the phrase from the law that makes people do a double take. In Nigeria, an employer can terminate a contract without giving a reason or a cause. I know, it's a huge change from a lot of other legal systems, but here is the crucial catch. There is a very strict process that you must follow.
So, you see, the focus isn't on why you're terminating someone, it's all about how you do it. The law mandates a minimum notice period that scales with how long the employee has been with you. It starts at just 1 day for brand new hires and goes all the way up to a full month for folks with 5 or more years of service. It's also important to know you can choose to pay their salary instead of having them work that notice period.
And what about severance? Well, in cases of redundancy, a payment is required. But here's the key detail. The law doesn't actually set a specific amount. Instead, the terms of any redundancy pay have to be negotiated and spelled out very clearly right there in the employment agreement itself.
And there you have it, your field guide to the core pillars of hiring in Nigeria, from the big economic picture right down to termination. The rules are distinct for sure,
but knowing them is the essential first step. So, the big question is, with this guide in hand, what's your next move for tapping into this incredible opportunity?